Be me, 28 years old. I've always seen myself as outspoken about women's struggles. When friends tell me about a boyfriend being selfish, or when I see another headline about harassment, I'm the first to speak up. So when men online start whining about how expensive dating is, I roll my eyes. Women put in way more effort. We spend hours getting ready, buying clothes and makeup, worrying about safety, dealing with creeps. Meanwhile, men just have to open their wallets. I used to tell my friends, if men can't afford to date, maybe they shouldn't date at all. They always agreed. But then my own younger brother kept bringing it up, and that's how this whole mess started. His name's Ryan. He's 25, 2 years younger than me, and he's been trying to date for a while now. I live with him temporarily while saving for my own place, so I hear all his complaints firsthand. One night, we were on the couch, half watching TV, when he sighed and said, "I can't even find a date anymore." Apps are dead, no one replies. And when I do finally meet someone, half the time they just use me for free dinners. I didn't even look up. Okay, but that's on you. Not my problem. He frowned. It's not just me. It's like every girl expects guys to cover everything. I've spent stupid money on dates, and I get ghosted after. It's like I'm paying for nothing. I laughed. Sharp? Oh, please. Women spend way more on ourselves before we even show up. A couple of dinners isn't killing you? You don't get it, he said, sitting up straighter. It's not just dinner. It's Uber rides, drinks before, flowers, whatever little extras. And even if you do everything right, she still might not see you again. I waved him off. You're being dramatic. His voice got tight. I've dropped close to 500 on one night, and it wasn't even wild. Just what she expected. I raised my eyebrows. 500 on one date? That's ridiculous. It's not, he said flatly. I've been through it, I scoffed. If you're spending that much, that's your fault. You're choosing overpriced places. No normal girl is demanding $500. He crossed his arms, eyes narrowed. You want to bet? At first I thought he was bluffing, but something in me wanted to prove him wrong. Fine. Next date, I'll pay. Whatever it costs, I'll cover it. And when it doesn't hit 500, you admit you've been exaggerating. His expression shifted instantly, like he'd just won. Deal. But if it does, you admit guys aren't lying. Fine, I snapped. We shook on it. The next day, I told my friends about it. He totally set you up, Nadia said over FaceTime. He's gonna milk that bill. I don't care, I said. Even if he tries, there's no way it hits 500. He's bluffing. Lila raised her eyebrows. I hope you have savings. My ex used to drop hundreds on us without blinking. I didn't even ask him to. That annoyed me. If men were overspending, that was their choice. It didn't prove anything. I stayed confident. At worst, I thought I'd cover a nice dinner, maybe drinks, and an Uber. 200, 250 tops. But then Ryan admitted he didn't even have a date lined up. We were sitting around the kitchen table when he muttered, I can't find anyone right now anyway. No one swipes back. I shrugged. That's on you. Not my problem. Nadia, who was with us, piped up, well, my cousin just moved here. She's cute, single, likes nice places. I can set you up. Ryan's head snapped up like she'd thrown him a lifeline. I cringed inside. He couldn't even find his own date. He was grabbing at whatever crumbs came his way. He didn't even ask what the cousin was like. He just said, yeah, sure. Set it up. That was Ryan in a nutshell. Not picky, just desperate for a shot. And because the girl was connected to Nadia, I realized something else. This wasn't just a random night. Whatever happened would filter back through our circle. If he embarrassed himself, everyone would hear about it. I felt smug. Perfect. Now, I'll have proof this whole thing is overblown. The night of the date, he stressed more than I'd ever seen him. What shirt do I wear? This one's too casual, but this one looks like I'm trying too hard. I rolled my eyes. Just pick one. She's not going to care. She's Nadia's cousin. It's going to get around, he muttered, staring at himself in the mirror. He ended up ironing a button-down I didn't know he owned and even borrowed my steamer for his pants. I wanted to laugh at how much effort he was putting in. Then came the Uber debate. 40 or regular? He asked. XL is double the price, but if she tells her cousin later I cheaped out? You're overthinking it, I cut him off. He booked the XL anyway. I thought, men do this to themselves? Before he left, he went over the plan with me. First, flowers. Skip them, I said immediately. It's old-fashioned. No one expects that his face tightened. I skipped them last time and she laughed at me. Told her friends I was cheap. I'm not going through that again. I blinked. He sounded serious, almost wounded, but I brushed it off. Fine, I said. Waste your money. He ignored me. Dinner's at that new downtown spot. She mentioned wanting to try it. Of course, I muttered. After that, he said she wanted to hit a rooftop bar her friends recommended, and maybe another spot if things went well. By the time he finished, my stomach clenched. You're making it sound like an entire weekend, not a date. He just smirked. Welcome to dating. I tried again to talk him down. Why not take her somewhere casual? If she's interested, it won't matter. She'll ghost me, he said flatly. I've been there. If you don't impress right away, you're done. That's how it works now, I frowned. But she could just be using you for free stuff. He gave a hollow laugh. Half of them do. But if I don't try, I don't even get the chance. That word, risk, stuck with me. For me, a bad date was just wasted time. For him, a bad date meant losing hundreds of dollars. I didn't want to admit it, but I felt a flicker of doubt. Still, I told myself it would never actually hit 500. Fine, I said. Do it your way. I'll pay. He smiled knowingly, like he already knew how it would end. That night, I sat at home with my phone in front of me. The texts started rolling in. Flowers, $45. Dinner apps, plus entrees, plus bottle of wine, $210. Uber XL to rooftop bar, $60. My stomach dropped with every ping. The numbers were climbing faster than I thought possible. When he finally messaged, she wants to hit one more spot, I groaned out loud. This was going to hurt. At first I thought I'd just sit at home and laugh at the receipts as they rolled in. That was the plan. But now, I was already annoyed. $45 on flowers that would die in a week? Stupid. I'd expect a dude to do that for me, but it feels different when I see my little brother spend like this. Then came the dinner update. Apps, 2 entrees, bottle of wine, $210. My stomach dropped. That was already more than I expected for the whole night. I told myself, okay, that's the bulk. Dinner is always the most expensive. It'll even out after this. But then he texted, Uber XL to rooftop bar, $60. I typed back, YXL, but deleted it. I promised I wouldn't interfere. I was supposed to just watch. When the next update came, cover charge, $30. I actually groaned out loud. Flowers, dinner, Uber, cover. We were at $345 already, and it wasn't even 10 p.m. I messaged my friends in the group chat. He's already blown past 300. This is ridiculous. That's when Nadia chimed in. We should swing by, just to check in. My cousin said she was taking him to a rooftop anyway. Lila jumped in. Yes, let's. Could be funny. I hesitated. It felt creepy. But I also wanted to see if he was overplaying it. So I agreed. The rooftop was busy and loud, which worked in our favor. Nobody noticed us slip in and grab a table off to the side. Between the music and the crowd, it wasn't hard to stay out of sight. Nadia was smug about it the whole time. Don't get me wrong, she said while we walked in, but Ryan better not embarrass her. My cousin's used to certain standards. The way she said it made me bristle. He hadn't even done anything yet, and she was already putting him down. We spotted them quickly. Ryan was across from Nadia's cousin at a small table. I'll admit she was pretty, dressed well, but the energy was off. She was half scrolling on her phone, barely making eye contact, while he tried to keep a conversation going. From our corner, we could see him laughing at his own jokes, paying for drinks fast, leaning forward, trying. She nodded here and there, but she looked bored. I texted him from under the table. How's it going? He replied after a pause. It's fine. She doesn't seem that interested, though. Maybe I'm just not handsome enough. I frowned at my screen. Before I could respond, Lila leaned over, glancing at the girl. I mean, she does look out of his league. No offense, Nadia smirked. Yeah, I didn't want to say it, but he's punching above his weight. I didn't reply. I hated that they said it, but Ryan's own words were basically the same. At one point, Nadia's cousin answered a FaceTime call right at the table. Yeah, this is the rooftop my cousin told me about, she said, panning her phone slightly. He's nice, kind of quiet. Ryan smiled politely and sipped his drink, pretending not to notice. I felt heat crawl up my neck. This wasn't just receipts anymore. I was watching it happen. I went to the bathroom to cool off. While I was waiting in line, I realized she was right behind me, phone pressed to her ear again. Her voice was casual, like she didn't care who heard. Yeah, he's paying for everything. Drinks, dinner, all of it. I'll probably ghost him tomorrow. My cousin made it sound like he was set up, but honestly, he doesn't even drive a BMW or anything decent. My stomach dropped. Hearing it said out loud, like it was just fact, was worse than seeing the receipts. I stood frozen, trying to act like I wasn't listening, while she kept talking. It was humiliating, and not even for me. Still, as I walked back to the table, I told myself maybe it was just her. Not all girls, just this one. When I sat down, Nadia looked at me knowingly. She's not wrong, she said bluntly. Men should pay. That's how it works. Lila nodded. Yeah, and just because he spends doesn't mean she owes him anything. She can walk away if she wants. That's the deal. I clenched my jaw. Out loud I said, I guess. Inside, I was boiling. Part of me was annoyed at her cousin. Part of me was annoyed at Ryan for letting himself get walked over. But mostly, I was annoyed because it was my card covering this circus. I tried to remind myself, men are supposed to provide. That's what I've always believed. Good on him for trying, right? Still, I couldn't shake the irritation that I was footing the bill. The updates kept coming from Ryan's phone. 2 cocktails each, $72. Another bar, her friend recommended it, $88. By then, my notebook was a mess of numbers. Flowers, dinner, Uber, cover, drinks, more drinks. When I added it up, the total had already crossed $500. I stared at it, sick. Half my rent, a month of utilities, gone. And all for what? A girl who wasn't into him, who openly admitted she'd ghost him tomorrow. When Nadia glanced at my notes and said, See? Still not that crazy. Guys should handle this. I just forced myself to nod. Because admitting otherwise meant admitting I'd been wrong for years. By midnight, I saw them at the exit. She barely gave him a hug, said something quick, and walked off to her own ride without looking back. Ryan stood there for a moment, shoulders low, before ordering an Uber. I felt secondhand embarrassment watching it, but when Lila asked me, So do you believe him now? I crossed my arms. It's one night. Doesn't prove anything? The next morning, I walked into the kitchen already bracing myself. Ryan was at the counter making coffee, looking way too calm for someone who had just torched more than $500 of my money. I sat down at the table, pulled out my phone, and opened the notes app where I'd tallied everything. $543, I said flatly. He turned, mug in hand, and shrugged. Sounds about right. I stared at him. That's not normal. That's insane. He took a sip, unfazed. It is normal. That's dating. Something in me snapped. You mean to tell me you spent $543 and she doesn't even want to see you again? He set the mug down. Probably not. She was nice, but I could tell she wasn't into me. I blinked. So you knew? And you still went through with it? Yeah, he said simply. What was I supposed to do? Walk out halfway. That makes me look cheap. If I don't play it through, I don't even get the chance. I wanted to scream. Instead, I pressed harder. But she wasn't even interested. That's insane. Why would you? Because I've been there before, he cut in. You skip flowers once, they laugh and tell their friends, you're cheap. You pick a casual spot once, they ghost you before the check clears. You don't go all out, you don't get a second shot. He wasn't defensive. He was just tired, like this was routine. I leaned back in my chair, stunned. So what did she even say to you? Ryan hesitated, then leaned against the counter. At dinner, she asked where I lived. When I said I rent an apartment, she started talking about her ex who already owned a condo, said he was younger than me. Then she brought up some guy she dated who was a trust fund kid, used to drive her around in a Porsche. Later, she mentioned another guy she met who made millions on crypto. She literally said, That's the type of guy I usually end up with. My mouth went dry. She wasn't rude about it, he added quickly, but it was clear she was comparing. Like, I wasn't even in the running. I was just filler. I didn't know what to say. I hadn't heard any of that from across the bar. From a distance, she'd just looked bored. Hearing it in detail made it worse. He kept going, almost matter of fact. She barely touched her drink, but ordered another anyway. When the waiter brought the check, she didn't even glance at it, just slid it to me. No hesitation. Like it was automatic, he gave a small, humorless laugh. Do you know what it's like to realize halfway through a date you've already lost, but you still have to sit there smiling and pay the bill anyway? I couldn't answer. Later that day, my phone buzzed with a new message in the group chat. It was Nadia. My cousin said he was sweet, but not her type. Thanks for setting it up, though. The words hit harder than I expected. I could picture her cousin sending that text, casual, brushing Ryan off like he was nothing. Then another message came in. Honestly, she does this a lot. Goes out with guys, lets them pay for nice places, then moves on. I didn't think she'd do it to your brother, but yeah. I stared at my screen, embarrassed, not just for Ryan, but for myself. I'd mocked him for months, and now Nadia, the one who vouched for her cousin, was basically admitting he was right. I typed out a reply, then deleted it. There was nothing to say. That night, Ryan knocked on my door. "Can I ask you something?" he said. I nodded. He crossed his arms. "Why were you at the rooftop?" My stomach dropped. "What?" He raised an eyebrow. "You thought I didn't notice. You and your little peanut gallery in the corner, watching me like I was some kind of science experiment." I opened my mouth, closed it, then muttered, "We were just checking in." He shook his head. "I already felt like a clown, and knowing you were watching made it worse." I tried to defend myself. "I was making sure you were okay." He laughed bitterly. "No, you wanted to prove me wrong. That's why you came." Admit it, I didn't answer. Before he left, he said one more thing. "I'm not even mad about the money. I'm used to it. I just wanted someone to like me for me once. That's all." Then he closed the door. I sat there frozen because I didn't know how to respond to that either. Later that night, I opened my banking app again. The $543 charge sat there, glaring back at me. Rent was due in a few days. I'd have to dip into my savings. I thought about every date I'd ever been on. Not once had I calculated the total cost. Not once had I thought about what the guy spent. Dinner, drinks, Ubers. I just showed up, had fun, and left. I remembered Ryan's words. "Do you know what it's like to realize halfway through a date you've already lost, but you still have to sit there smiling and pay the bill anyway?" Number. I didn't. I'd never thought about it that way, and I hated that he had a point. The next morning, he was out early for work. I saw his jacket by the door, a folded schedule sticking out of the pocket. Double shifts? I asked him about it later, and he just shrugged. "Gotta make up for what I spend." "Can't exactly stop dating, can I?" He hesitated for a second, then added quietly, "Look, it's not even about the money. It's about how it feels. Working all week, coming home alone, doing the same thing over and over, it gets lonely. When I'm on a date, even if she ends up treating me like crap or ghosts me the next day, at least for those few hours I feel wanted. Important. Like I matter to someone." He gave a small shrug, almost embarrassed. "So yeah, I work extra shifts. I burn through cash I probably shouldn't. But that moment, when she laughs at something I say or leans in close, even if it's fake, that's the only time I don't feel invisible." Something about the casualness of it made me feel even worse. He was working extra hours, exhausting himself, just to keep affording nights like that. Nights where he already knew he was losing. I wanted to argue, to tell him he was wasting his time, but I didn't. It's been weeks since then, but I still think about it. Every time I check my bank account, every time I see men online complaining about how much dating costs, I used to scroll past and laugh. Now I scroll slower. I'm not saying I was wrong. Women still have their own struggles. Safety, appearance, expectations. That's real, and I'll never pretend it isn't. But I also can't deny what I saw. The receipts, the texts, the look on his face when he said he just wanted someone to like him for him. I won't go as far as saying men are victims. I still think they exaggerate sometimes. But I can't laugh at it anymore. Because I paid for one of those nights myself. I saw how brutal it really is. And I don't think I'll ever forget it.